I'm James Schultz, and I'm Bruin Pride. Yes, so I was chair of the program from the beginning for about, I have to check, 10, 12 years, something like that. The challenge, first of all, the program has had good support from the university as far as administrative support that we needed. We've had money to teach the courses we could teach and do programming if we needed. At the beginning we had a lot of support from the Center for Women's Studies. We had to work together on lecture programs and series and things like that. And then we started having our own conference that was originally QGrad, a graduate student conference, and then became larger, which was for many years the only national annual conference on LGBT studies that we hosted once a year. So we've had that kind of support, which has been good. The one thing that we don't have, and has always been a challenge, is faculty lines, which means that all the faculty who have been involved are already doing 50 million other things because their appointments are in other academic departments. Many of them also are involved in all sorts of other interdepartmental programs. And so they're spread thin to start with. And just with the best will in the world, just no human being has limitless time. None of us has been able to spend as much time as he or she would like for the LGBT Studies program for that reason. And that's always been very hard. That's been a hardship, I think, for the program, because we just haven't been able to count on that kind of involvement that was built into the way it was structured, of people who almost by their contract, whatever it would be, have a large proportion of their time devoted to the program. And that's been a weakness and a challenge, and still is, for the program. The program itself, I think, there are a number of things I'd like to say about it. First is, obviously it's important the university have such a program, and I think it's more important than the number of minors might suggest. The number of minors has always been relatively modest. I don't know, 30 is a number that sticks in mind. I don't know what it is at the moment, since thankfully I'm no longer involved in the administration of the program. And of course it is important that we be here and have the minor program for the people who want to be minors in LGBT studies. I actually think the program's larger function, and in some ways more importantly, is to offer courses which are open to all sorts of people, not just minors in LGBT studies, to make this kind of study and this kind of knowledge and this kind of investigation and thinking about sexuality and gender available to the undergraduate population at large, because it's much more important that large numbers of students know something about LGBT studies, it seems to me, than a small number of students know a great deal, which is also important. But I think it's a very important service that we serve by being that kind of a presence on campus. We're actually kind of anomalous in that we are not an IDP, an interdepartmental program. We have a very tenuous official status. We're an independent minor under the supervision of the Dean of Humanities. But we've been encouraged to act like an IDP or a center. And so we have this kind of aura that's been actually very helpful to us, seeming like we have this kind of administrative status that we don't have. And that's been helpful. What I would hope for the program would be that it had more resources, although, as I said, the university has been generous with the kinds of things that it gives these programs, temporary teaching funds and so forth and so on. I wish we had some more resources of our own that would come in the form of some kinds of endowments that could enable us to hire full-time, perhaps only visitors, but full-time faculty, maybe young scholars who've just gotten their Ph.D.s and haven't gotten more permanent positions, but come with that kind of energy that young people have, whose primary one of the consequences of the fact that people of my generation came to this through other disciplines that are their own is that, yes, I mean, I like to think we know something about it, but we didn't write our dissertations. This is not, in fact, my primary area of scholarship, which is still medieval German studies. And of course, people now are getting PhDs who are writing on LGBT studies, issues, and primarily, and this is where their primary focus is. And to be able to profit from this, it would be wonderful to be able to bring these people to campus even in other universities have done this, for a year or two as a postdoc or as a visiting assistant professor, and that takes the kind of resources the program doesn't have. That would be an incredible boost in the, I guess, shot in the arm to the program, to be able to have that kind of, those kinds of people to bring some more energy and different perspectives and different disciplines and emerging kinds of ways of thinking about the field that we have difficulty doing now. Bruin Pride is learning. Universities are learning. That's why we have these incredible institutions, is to learn stuff. And yes, I think UCLA is a great place for that kind of learning.